Hello, guys, and welcome back to the FPL Duo. Been a very long time, it feels. I think we haven't done a stream in about, I think, 9 or 10 days now. It's been a while. Obviously, the international break is on, so Premier League took a bit of a break, but we're back again. It is double game week 29. So we're going to talk about the players you should be looking to buy, sell, hold, and ignore for double game week 29. International breaks going to finish up soon. It was nice to have the break, obviously, from FPL, but it was feeling a bit boring in the weekends with no Premier League football. I have to be honest. But FPL is, soon resuming. How you been, Jordan? How's your week been? And how you enjoying the international break?
Yeah, I think it's been great for a little break from Premier League football. I mean, I think we've needed it, and I think now we're all ready to jump back into it now because obviously, as we mentioned, it has felt boring without football, and we've only really had the international break where we're watching obviously nations and countries battling against each other for the Euro 2024. So yeah, apart from that, it has been a nicer break for everyone, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so on to FPL again. Double game week 29, as I mentioned. Exciting week. A lot of people are going to be on chips, bench boost, etc. So we're gonna, we've compiled these players for you guys, and these are the players that we think you should be looking to bring in ahead of game week 29. Let's bring it up. First up, and that is Bruno Fernandes as the first pick on a buy. Just going through Bruno's stats quickly, he has played 25 times so far this season. Bruno is on 5 goals and 6 assists, so he has racked up a few goals and assists this season. Expected goals per 90, 0.21, and his expected assists per 90 at 0.41. So the underlying numbers aren't too bad. But the reason why you'd want Bruno is obviously he had a double game week in game week 29, which is against Newcastle away and Brentford at home. And the other reason why you'd want Bruno, I think, is game week 34. I know it's not on the ticker right now, but Bruno does double again, I believe, in game week 34. So I'm just taking a look. In game week 34, he actually has Aston Villa and Brighton in a double game week. So you're bringing him in, and he's also going to have, I think, obviously he blanks in 32. But other than that, long term, you can hold Bruno because, as I said, double in 29, double in 34. You'd probably want triple Man United for those games. So, yeah, the single game week fixtures are also quite nice. Everton at home in game week 30, Nottingham Forest away in game week 31. Also, game week 32 is a blank, so you will have to navigate that. But I think a lot of people will be free hitting in game week 32. So, shouldn't worry about that he does blank in that game. But Bruno, definitely for me, he's one that I will be looking to bring into my team. I don't have him currently, but he's high on the priority to bring in because of that double. And again, the future doubles. What's your take on Bruno as an owner, Jordan? Double this week, double in 34 as well, and decent single game week fixtures along the way as well.
Yeah, I'm in a good position because I do own Bruno in my team, and this is particularly why because of double game week he has in 29, and obviously the one that we've mentioned in 34 as well. So he is playing a lot of fixtures, Bruno, as well as Man United, as they're still in pretty much all competitions currently. So they are playing a lot of football, which means there's more doubles as they progress further into near the finals to most competitions, unless they get knocked out. So, yeah, there's a lot of reasons why you want to include Bruno in your team, especially for this double in 29. And he may be also a captain-worthy pick, depending on how Rashford's situation is, because he is currently flagged. Bruno could be your captain for double game in 29. So there is a lot of upside to bringing Bruno in for long term as well. I know he has a blank in 32, but I think a lot of you can navigate around that as there's not many players that will blank in 32. There's only a few, obviously, that are in other competitions that will blank in that.
There's a few actually, like Man City, Brighton, they're all blank. But if you've got a free hit, then I guess you're sorted in that sense. If not, you'll have to maybe take hits. But it's still a while away.
Yeah, still a while away. another 4 weeks before that happens, so there's a lot of time to prepare for that.
Mm.
Ownership from Bruno as well is very low, so you're in a good position to bring him in now early, before his ownership does rise. And he may be a bit expensive, but I think it is definitely worth it for Bruno in the long-term run.
Yeah, I'm gonna sell Odegaard. Just quickly, obviously my transfer plans video is going to be on Thursday. Team selection, but I'm looking to bring Bruno into my team. But let us know in the comments, guys. Are you bringing in Bruno Fernandes this week? Because he does look like a good pick. He is tempting at that with a double this week. Let's move on to another player that you should be looking to buy ahead of game week 29, and that is McAllister. Now, as we know, double game week for Brighton as well. And Brighton actually have some very nice fixtures on paper at Brentford at home and then Bournemouth away. McAllister does have 22 appearances, 7 goals, 1 assist. His underlying numbers are pretty decent as well. His expected goals per 90 is 0.37 and his expected assists per 90 0.11. Now, I don't own McAllister in my team, but if I was to pick one right now, I would probably lean towards McAllister ahead of Mitoma and March. And let me explain why, guys. So if you like the data and you're looking at purely for expected goals and numbers, then McAllister does look like the better pick. He's getting more opportunities to score goals just by, in terms of expected goals. He is playing further forward as well, as a bit of a 10, roaming around behind the striker. So he's involved in that sense. Whereas someone like Mitoma is more of a clinical finisher. He's not getting as many good opportunities to score, but because he's still taking those chances, he's going in. Similar to March, I think McAllister's the one I would be looking to bring in definitely, because I do like that double game week 29. And his ownership 6.9 as well %, so bit of a differential. His price is pretty low as well, 5.5 mil, so most of you should be able to afford him. Similar to Bruno, he had McAllister also will double again in game week 34 against Wolves and Man United. So another good pick long term, I'd say. And yeah, McAllister with 7 goals. He's also on penalties, I believe. So another reason why to bring him in. And yeah, the data is good. The eye test is good as well. And he has a double game week. So for me, he's definitely a buy. If you don't have, I've got Solly March and Mitoma already, so it'll be hard for me to bring him in as well, as I have Estupinan. But if you don't have any double Brighton midfielder, McAllister's are definitely a shout. What's your take on it, Jordan?
Yeah, I think as a bonus as well, McAllister is also on penalties. So if Brighton do get a penalty, then he is the one to take it. As I think in the previous match, Brighton did have a penalty, and McAllister, I think, did score. So yeah, it's always a bonus when you have a penalty taker as well in your team. Even if they don't score from open field, they can potentially score from obviously the penalty, unless they've either saved or missed it. But yeah, McAllister's a good buy for the double game week 29. Whether whatever you do with him after double game week 29 is completely up to you, as obviously there is a slight switch in Brighton's fixtures as well as the blank in 32. So you could potentially get rid of McAllister after the double and bring him back in when they do double in 34 again. But yeah, McAllister is a good pick for this double. They have good fixtures in that double as well. Brentford at home, because obviously Brentford have struggled away. There's not many wins for Brentford away. I think there's only 3 that they've managed to get this season. And obviously Bournemouth have struggled as well this season, not really getting many wins and potentially going to be relegated. So even if it's an away fixture, I still think it's a good, strong one for Brighton to do well in. So yeah, there's all upside, I think, for buying McAllister in.
Yeah, I'd agree. He's definitely one that I'd be looking to bring in as well. Let's move on to some players that we think you should be looking to sell potentially. And the first player on the list, that is Martin Odegaard. So Odegaard's on the list, which may come as a shock or surprise to some people. He's 27 appearances this season, 10 goals, 6 assists. So he's having a very, very good season. His underlying numbers, 0.32 expected goals, and 0.26 expected assists per 90. And the reason why he's on the list is because a lot of us already have Saka in our team. And if you want to add Bruno in, which a lot of us do, who's got a double game week this week, the only sacrificial lamb is probably Odegaard, as you probably don't want to sell Saka. So if you had to pick who to sell, Odegaard or Saka, to bring Bruno in, Odegaard is probably that one I'd be going for. And Odegaard has had a few blanks, I know, in recent weeks. I know he did score against Fulham, didn't he? In game 27, but he did blank against Palace. He blanked against Bournemouth as well in their 3-2 win. So if I had to pick Saka or Odegaard, one of them to sell, it would probably be Odegaard. But yeah, you'll have to make that decision for yourself. That fixture against Leeds does worry me slightly, maybe. Selling Odegaard because he's got Leeds at home. That's a great fixture for Arsenal. So he could potentially haul in that game. But then after that, the Arsenal fixtures aren't actually that great on paper, and they don't have any double game weeks. So that's why I think going forward, we could be getting rid of some of our Arsenal assets because, Game week 29 is a great fixture, but a lot of other teams double. Game week 30, they've got Liverpool away at Anfield. So that is, still, I believe, is a tough game for Arsenal. Then they've got West Ham. Then they've got Southampton in game week 32. And then they've got Man City at home in game week 33. And then in game week 34, which you can't see, they've actually got Chelsea in a single game week when other teams double as well. So Arsenal, the fixtures are a bit up and down, but obviously they're playing really well. They're top of the league, so anything can happen in these games. That Leeds fixture does still look very good. So I would be a bit wary selling all our Arsenal assets, but I definitely think you could be looking to offload a couple in the coming weeks as they don't have any doubles and the fixtures do turn slightly, even though, as I mentioned, they are playing really well. What's your take on it, Jordan, for people that want to bring Bruno in? You've got Harry Kane potentially as well, got Haaland. It's quite hard to fit them all in. So that's why I think, that's the route you're taking other than selling Saka.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think Saka is the main, Arsenal asset you want to keep in your team. And I think you are pretty much okay to offload Odegaard and as well as triple Arsenal if you do have 3 Arsenal players. I don't think it's really necessary at this moment to really have 3. You can afford to get rid of 1 at least. And Odegaard's probably the best pick, as he has been, I'll say, out of Martinelli and Saka, less off form than them two. So the way the form has been going as well, you could afford to sell Odegaard and obviously bring in the double, as I think that's another reason as well. Arsenal have no more doubles really scheduled at the moment, so I don't think there'll be any more for them. So that's even more reason you'll be playing less fixtures with an Arsenal player like Odegaard. So it'd be more worth it if you bring in a player that's going to double and have more fixtures in each of the game weeks that they do double in. So yeah, Odegaard I'll say is probably easy and probably a very popular sell, I think, for midfielder spots.
Yeah, of course. The only other thing, obviously, I've mentioned is Leeds at home is a good fixture, and I can see him potentially scoring in that one. But it's a bit of a risk that I guess we'll have to take. Let's move on to the second player as a sell on the list, and that is his Arsenal teammate Saliba. Now, Saliba, 28 appearances, 3 goals this season. Similar points to Odegaard. You look at the fixtures. He's got Leeds at home, which, yes, you can see a clean sheet. Liverpool away. I don't really see a clean sheet there. West Ham away. You could probably see West Ham scoring. Southampton at home, they'll probably keep a clean sheet. Then City at home. I don't see a clean sheet against City as well. So I don't see many clean sheets coming up for Arsenal. And then again, as I mentioned, they don't have any doubles where someone like Luke Shaw has 2 double game weeks coming up in 29 and 34. Someone like Lewis Dunk or Estupinan has doubles coming up. Chilwell has a double this week. I'd rather get a defender that has a double ahead of a single game week Saliba in that sense. And yeah, the fixtures aren't great anyway in terms of single game weeks because Man City, Liverpool in the next 5, even West Ham, you can see them scoring. So I would be looking at selling off Saliba or a Ben White potentially and switching him to someone like Luke Shaw. I think Luke Shaw got a double in 29. He's been rested as well. I think Luke Shaw didn't play in England games, did he? So he's fully rested for that double in 29 for Man United. And I think that's an easy move. If I've got Zinchenko myself, I will be looking to sell Zinchenko off for someone like Luke Shaw. And I think that's going to be quite a popular play. What's your take on it, Jordan?
Yeah, just to mention about Luke Shaw, I was very fortunate they actually got a red card and wasn't able to play in the next international fixture. So yeah, there is a rest for Luke Shaw in that respect to obviously sell a player like Saliba, a defender who's got a single game week fixture, for Luke Shaw, who's been rested and is ready for a double game week in 29. So you'd be playing an extra fixture for the player and potentially more points for the player if Man United are to keep a clean sheet in one or both of their double game weeks over Saliba, who's playing Leeds at home. That maybe a clean sheet there, but potentially you could get an attack in return from Shaw, even though Saliba is capable of that as well, as it shows he has scored 3 goals this season. But we do have to keep an eye on the single game week fixtures, obviously, for players. But I think in this case, you can afford to sell an Arsenal player, as we mentioned with Odegaard, especially if you have triple Arsenal. You want to offload at least one of them, and Saliba could be the other potential spot if you don't feel like selling Odegaard, for example.
Yeah.
Maybe an Arsenal defender is more to your pick.
Yeah, and you take a look at game week 30 is Liverpool and game week 31 is West Ham, whereas you compare that to Man United. Man United play Everton in game week 30 and play Nottingham Forest in game week 31. So even the single game week fixtures are better for Man United. But yeah, let's move on to some players that we think you should be looking to hold on to. Now, these are players that managers are taking out their team that we think you could be looking to, give another week to, potentially 2 weeks, etc. Obviously, Saka's being transferred out by quite a few managers, maybe surprisingly, due to his form. He did score again, a very nice goal for England in the Ukraine match. I think they won 2-0. So 26 appearances so far for Saka this season, 12 goals, 10 assists. So double-digit goals and assists already this season. So he's having an excellent season. Underlying numbers, 0.33 expected goals per 90 as well. Now, we know we've spoke about Arsenal quite a lot already, mentioning 3 of their players. But Saka's one that is quite hard to sell, I still think. You could sell him if you need the money to get Bruno in, Maddison, etc. They've got the doubles. I wouldn't personally do Saka to Maddison. I'd rather just keep Saka, even though Maddison has a really nice double in 29. But yeah, look, Saka could, if you sell him in game week 29, he could easily go and score 2 goals and an assist against Leeds at home. We've seen him do that literally last week. So that would worry me. But again, I know the fixtures. It depends how confident you are on Arsenal against Liverpool, West Ham, Man City, etc. But I would be worried to sell Saka and have no Arsenal completely. So I would be holding on to Saka, I think. But yeah, if you've got other plans, whether that includes Bruno, then maybe you could look to take him out. But for now, I think Saka is a hold, and he's been transferred out by quite a few managers. That's why we've put him on the list as a hold. What's your thoughts, Jordan? Are you selling Saka or are you going to hold?
No, I'll definitely hold on to Saka. I think he's one of the Arsenal assets you'd probably want to keep still, unless we see Saka reform. But for the moment, he looks like he's pretty on form. And with Arsenal in the title race as well, they wanted to keep that first spot. I think it's important that we keep at least an Arsenal asset like Saka in your team, because obviously there's a lot to play for Arsenal. And he could potentially be a hold for the rest of the season, just because of obviously the title race, because Arsenal look to win it and they'll probably want to keep in that first place position away from Man City and other opposition teams. And by doing that, they have to score goals, and you definitely want Saka because he is definitely the one that's going to be getting most of those goals, as he's shown this season so far. He's got 12 goals so far and he has assisted 10 of them. So he's definitely a player you don't want to really look to get rid of, I would say, or at all this season, because there is a lot to play for Arsenal, and Saka is definitely one of those players you want to keep, as well as on penalties as well. For the current moment, he definitely is a player you want to hold in terms of Arsenal assets.
Moving on swiftly to another player that we think you should be looking to hold, and that is Ivan Toney. Now, he's been transferred out, as we know, by a few managers, quite a few of you. He's got 16 goals and 4 assists this season. He's also having a brilliant season. He does have a double game week in 29, which is why he's on this list as a hold. He's got Brighton away and Man United away. Yes, it is 2 away fixtures, and Brentford's away form isn't the best. But I still believe Ivan Toney can get a goal in one of those fixtures or whoever against. And I think rather than wasting a transfer on a player that has a double, I'd rather just, save that transfer and maybe look to take him out after that double in 30 or 31 if he gets his yellow card. Now, that is why a lot of people are taking him out. But so if he gets a yellow card against Brighton, he will miss that Man United and Newcastle game because he'll get a 2-match suspension, I believe. So hopefully for us, that own Tony, he doesn't get a yellow card against Brighton, and hopefully he plays against Brighton, he plays against United as well in that double, and then we look to get rid of him after that. But for now, he is a hold, and we just take that risk that he doesn't get the yellow card, as I'm assuming you have other transfers, your hits, etc. You want to use on other players rather than taking him out. So that's why, and yeah, his record this season has been good, and I definitely can see him scoring against United or Brighton personally. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Jordan, are you going to hold Tony, even though obviously yellow card tightrope?
Yeah, I'm really trying not to think about the yellow card thing, because every time I thought about a player that's had like one yellow card away from suspension, it's kind of happened like with Maddison last season.
Yeah,
didn't end well. But yeah, hopefully with Tony, obviously he doesn't get a yellow card in the Brighton game, because obviously that will be very devastating, as he will turn into a single game player instead of a double. But yeah, I think he's still a hold though, despite the yellow card scare. Obviously his form's been great this season, 16 goals, 4 assists, and his ownership is pretty high as well, just reaching over 40%. He's quite considerably cheap at 7.9 million. So there is a lot of upside as well, because Brentford are one of the teams that don't blank in game week 32. So if Tony can hold off for getting yellow cards until then you've got a player that can start in game week 32, and you won't have to worry about filling him in for another player that may potentially blank in game week 32. So yeah, there is a lot of upside for holding Tony. I don't think there's necessarily any reason to get rid of him, even with the yellow card scare. I think for now, until it happens, or if it happens, that's probably when you may decide not to hold Tony. But for the time being, he is a hold.
Okay, let's move on to some ignores. Now, the first one on the list, as an ignore for this game week, and that is Tyrone Mings. Now, might be a shock, I don't know, to people, because Tyrone Mings is coming off the back of a double-digit haul. He has 24 appearances, 2 assists. He does have a double game week 29. We know Aston Villa played Chelsea away and Leicester away. Who knows? It could be a decent double for Tyrone Mings. He's cheap, 4.3 million. Low ownership of 5.1%. Do you see many clean sheets? I mean, they could keep a clean sheet. I could see at least one potentially. So maybe he's not the worst pick, but I would personally rather bring in Estupiñán, Dunk, Luke Shaw, even Ben Chilwell for the upside of assist or even a goal. With Tyrone Mings, he's unlikely he's going to score. I know he did get a double-digit return in the previous game, didn't he? I was just seeing what he actually done, because he kept a clean sheet, didn't he? Against I just forgot who they played now. I'm gonna check right now because
was it Bournemouth?
Yes, it was Bournemouth. So he got the clean sheet point. He got the assist, didn't he, against Bournemouth, and he got 3 bonus points. So he got a 12-pointer in his last game. I don't think it's necessarily going to carry on that way, because it is very rare that Mings will get an assist or a goal, even though he's got 2 this season. But yeah, for me, he's still an ignore. Maybe it is people jumping on a bandwagon. I don't know. But you never know. He could keep an assist against Leicester the way they're playing. Even Chelsea, they don't score many goals, do they? So it might not be the worst pick. But yeah, for us, he is an ignore. Do you want to add anything on it, Jordan?
I think, yeah, it'll just be difficult, I think, to really include Mings in your team, even though he has a double game week. His stats don't really show that he's worth bringing in for the double, with 0 goals and only 2 assists this season. I think there's more upside from defenders like Luke Shaw that have more attacking threat. I know Aston Villa do have attacking threat, but defensively from players like Mings, it's not really come from him this season. So I think there is more upside on bringing in other defenders with doubles that may have a better double, because they are 2 away fixtures that Aston Villa do have, even though they have improved under their new manager, Emery. I still think Mings can be ignored, just because I think the reason being, as we've spoken about, as the double haul probably has attracted more people and bringing wings in, but I don't think that's going to be happening pretty much every game week for him. I think that's just a one in a blue moon, I'll say, for him to get a double haul.
Okay, moving on to the final player as an ignore, and that is Kai Havertz. Now, Kai Havertz, we've included him as an ignore, which may come as a surprise because there's a few managers out there that are looking to bring him in. But for us, he's an ignore. He's got 26 appearances so far this season. He's also scored 7 goals, which might seem as a surprise because he doesn't seem like to score that many goals, does he? But 7 goals and 1 assist. So why have we included Havertz? Because he does actually have a double against Aston Villa and Liverpool, 2 home fixtures, which is pretty good. Also, game week 30, he's got Wolves. Game week 31, he's got Brighton. So the fixtures aren't the worst, looking at it on paper. But there's other players that I'd prefer over Kai Havertz, and that's why we've put him as an ignore. Players like Ollie Watkins, I believe I'd rather have Ollie Watkins in my team for the double game week 29. I'm still not 100% sold on Kai Havertz. I know he did score in the 2-2, didn't he? I think was it a penalty? He did get an 8-pointer against Everton. He did actually get a 9-pointer as well. He's back-to-back goals. So maybe a bit of recency bias, but Chelsea don't score too many goals. The attack still isn't 100% fluid, and I'd prefer going with the attacking players like Tony. If you've got him, I wouldn't switch to Havertz. If you've got Watkins, or if you've not got Watkins, I would prefer Watkins. And even another player that I would prefer over Kai Havertz right now is Isak. Now, we spoke about Isak previously. If I had to pick Havertz or Isak right now, I would pick Isak 100% over Havertz for the double game week 29. I think it's a better move. Isak's on penalties as well, as long as Callum Wilson isn't back, hopefully. Isak is one that I'd be looking to bring in ahead of Havertz. So that's why he's an ignore. Maybe not. I wouldn't say he's a terrible pick or anything like that. He could easily score against Villa, but there's other forwards that I'd rather want in my team ahead of Kai Havertz. So that's my thinking on it. Would you agree there, Jordan?
Yeah, I just don't expect many goals coming from Kai Havertz, even though he has scored 7 this season. Chelsea have been a bit up and down in terms of snakes and ladders. They have a good match, then the next match they could just have a terrible game and not score in it. And it's pretty much been like that the whole season for Chelsea. It's been up and down, not really much movement, not many goals. I think Kai Havertz is the highest goal scorer for Chelsea with those 7, and everyone else is pretty much low goal scorers. So as well as having a team that's been bloated by many other players as well, even though Kai Havertz has been pretty clinical with 26 appearances, only 3 coming off the bench, I still think there's more upside in bringing in another player because it is a forward position. I think there is more upside to bring another player that has more, let's say, fluency. Yeah, fluency in their play, and I don't think that comes from Chelsea really, or Kai Havertz in particular. So yeah, I think he's definitely ignore.
Okay, fair enough. So let's quickly recap the 8 players. So you should be looking to buy Bruno Fernandes and McAllister. You should look to sell Odegaard and Saliba. You should hold on to Saka and Tony, and you should ignore Tyrone Mings and Kai Havertz. So those are the 8 players for the buy, sell, hold, ignore series for double game week 29. Let us know what you think. Do you agree with our picks or not? Do you disagree? Let us know in the comments. If you have enjoyed the content, make sure you do smash that like button and also subscribe to our channel if you are new. We're very, very close to 800 subscribers, and that's the target. So if you can get us there, that would be very, very appreciated. So yeah, like and subscribe if you can, please. Also, some news. We are going to start streaming earlier for the next 2 weeks due to Ramadan. So next 2 weeks is going to be a 6 p.m. stream, just so you guys know. But yeah, we're going to wrap the stream up. Sorry, we can't stay on for too long. So I can't really get through many of your questions, but we've got Johnny in the chat. We've got Carl. Evening to everyone that's in the chat. We will look to answer your questions in the team selection video, hopefully. But yeah, thanks for all your comments. I think Johnny said double game week 34 free hit looks tasty. Ali Max says no Bruno for me as Casemiro is missing. And Alex Meachar is talking about selling Arsenal defenders. Surely you are only going to want to sell your Arsenal defender if you have a free hit left. Yeah, we did mention, the way to navigate that is the free hit in game week 32, which is what I'll probably be doing. But yeah, we are going to wrap it up here, guys. Just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who has joined the stream. If you have liked the video, make sure you drop that like and subscribe to the channel. But yeah, that's it from us. We're back again on Thursday for the team selection video. That will be at 6 p.m. So make sure you got your notifications on. It will be an earlier stream than usual, 6 p.m. UK time. But yeah, that's it from me. Anything else you want to add, Jordan?
Thank you guys for watching. Take care, and we'll see you Thursday for the team selection.
Yep, see you Thursday. Take care and have a good one, guys. Peace out.